So good morning guys, this is Akriti and today we will be solving one more question on Leetcode. So welcome to my solution series. Now first of all you have to go to the leetcode.com. Let me clear all this first. Okay. So head over to leetcode.com. Here we will be solving one more question on array. Click on problem section. Then click on array section. Um, After clicking this, you will find a page like this where you will be able to solve as many questions as you want. So, as right now we are on a basic level or we are at the starting level. So, the difficulty level which we are gonna choose for our question will be easy mode, of course. So, today I will be solving one question on easy difficulty level of array. Let me choose a question first. The question will be moves array. Okay, so question number 283 moves zeros. Okay, move zeros. This is the question. Let me clear this first. So guys, first of all, let me read the question. So given an array nums, move all the zeros to the end of it while maintaining the relative order of the non-zero element. So what question is saying? Question is saying we are given with an array whose name whose names is num, and what we have to do, we have to do all the zeros inside the array at the end of the array where the position of the non-zero element should be same. I guess you guys got the question. What we have to do, these are the example which you can refer for better understanding of our problem. These are the example, like if we are given 0 1 0 3 12, then we have to keep the position, relative position of 1 3 and 12 same, like 1 should be before 3 and 3 should be before 12, and all the zeros like this one and this one should be moved at the end of the array. So here we're using vector in place of array in the question. So let me first clear some basic method of the vector that we are gonna use. So first method is, like, let's suppose we have a vector. Let's suppose we have a vector vec1. Okay. If we have a vector called vec1, then if we want a size of a vector, then we can find it by this method, vec1 dot size. This method is for finding the size of the vector. We can also create the iterator which will point to the index of the vector, or which will point to few elements of the vector, like um, uh, this is the way of declaring the iterator. Let me just copy. You need not to learn all these things because you can refer your personal documentation or the one which are provided in the Google or internet. You can refer to those documentation. You need not to learn all the syntax. So this is the way of defining the iterator of the vector. Okay. Another one thing, how can we erase element from the vector? So if we want to erase element which is pointing, like let's suppose we have a vector like um, vec1 is equal to 0 8 1 4 and 5, and let's suppose right now our iterator is pointing to 0 element, like the element which is in the first position. So if we want to remove this element from our vector, and what we use a method called erase. And how do we need to use it? Vec1 dot erase, and we have to give iterator which is pointing to that element, which element we want to erase. Okay. And there is another method where we can combine two vectors, like we have a one vector, and we have a vec2 another vector. If we want to combine vec1 plus vec2, then what we need to do, uh, we need to simply write vec1 dot what was the function, I forget actually. Let me search. When you come to such situation, like you forget the syntax or you forget the method, then you can simply refer to documentation. is no problem in referring to documentation actually, because no one is actually learning the syntax, no one is actually learning all the methods of a of a vector or any library, you can say. Nobody is actually learning. We are just referring to the documentation whenever we forget. Like this is the method I was talking about. um, Backman dot insert is the method. So Backman dot insert, what we have to insert, vector one, where here we have to give the position where we wanna insert another vector. Like in my case I have to insert the vector 2 at the end of the vec 1, so I'm giving that at the end of the vec 1 we have to insert vec 2, and here we have to give the starting and and iterator of another vector, which is vector. Okay, so with the help of this function we are inserting vec 2 at the end of vec 1. So this is the syntax how we can insert. So I guess you guys are clear with these many methods of vector. Now let's start with the question. So what I was thinking, how can we tackle this question? In order to tackle this question, simply it is given that we are given a vector and we have to remove all the zeros and then put them at the end of the vector. That is what we have to do. So we can simply, what we can do, we can firstly remove all the zeros from the vector and we can count how many zeros we are removing, and then we can store those many zeros in another vector, and then we can um, you know um, insert that another vector at the end of our first vector. So in this way we will be having all the non-zeros element without their relative order get affected, and we will have all those zeros at the end of our vector. I hope it's quite difficult to for you guys to understand right now. Let me solve first. Here we are using the size function that I was talking about. Nums dot size. It will return the size of our nums. Okay. Now what we are gonna do? We are gonna declare a count array which will count the number of zeros. Let me first assign 0 to it. It will count the number of zeros which are there in our vector. Now we will declare another vector which is gonna store zeros. So let me name it zeros. Okay, vector in zeros. This vector will store the number of zeros as many zeros as there are in our original vector. Okay, so I have declared zero vector which is going to store number of zeros which are there in our original vector. Now what we will do, I will just make a variable I, and I'll run a while loop until I is less than nums of size, or we can simply say size. So I have to loop through my entire vector num. I have to loop through my entire vector num, and I will just check if element present at the I index is 0 or not. So if nums of I equals to 0, then what we have to do, we have to erase this element simply. So what we will do, we will erase. Here's the function erase which I have told you. So I will need to define a iterator as well, because for erase function to use we need a iterator. So we will simply use this iterator. We will declare a iterator in place of vec1. Of course we should have num. So we have declared a iterator which is pointing to the first index of num. Okay, so now what I'm saying if my element at index I is 0, then simply erase this element. So we are gonna use nums dot erase, which is at the position pointing to what iter pointing to. Okay, which is at the position which iter pointing to. So it will just simply erase the element, and it will increase the count as well, because if we are erasing 1 0, then we need to increase our count by 1, that we are counting how many zeros we have erasing. Okay, so as many zeros you will be erasing, you have to increase the count by that number. if the so if our element is 0, then we have to do this. Otherwise we will simply increase I and we will point our iterator to the next element. This is what we are going to do in this way. Now what we have done, if you will see, after this while loop we will be having an array nums where all the zeros have been removed. Like let me show you. If we have nums equal 0 1, okay, 0 3 and 12. This is what our nums looked like before we were using that loop, and after this loop nums after will be like this. We have removed all the zeros. So this is our final state after this loop. Nums will look like this. Okay, so this is our final num. Now what the last thing we have to do is we have to make a array zeros containing as many zeros as we have removed from our num, and then we have to insert our zeros array inside our nums array. So how can we I have to uh, told you one more function about how do we need to insert element inside a vector. So this is a function for inserting element inside a vector. Let me explain you what is this. Now this one, what it does actually, it's simply how to insert element inside a vector. Like there we have a vec1, as we were having a example vector vec1. So we are inserting element at a position where iter point, and we are inserting x copy of element ele. Okay, this is the syntax of inserting x element inside a vector at a position where iter is pointing. So what we have to do, we have to simply insert zeros in our array. Zeros dot we have to simply insert zeros. uh, where do we have to insert? We have to insert at the beginning of the zeros, of course, because right now our zero is empty. So we will be inserting all the zeros at the beginning. And how many zeros do we have to insert? We have to insert as many zeros as we have removed from our nursery. So what it was, how it was, we have declared an variable for it, for counting the number of zero we are removing. So we are um, inserting count number of zeros. And what we are inserting zeros, this is the way of inserting elements. This is the way of inserting x copy of a element at a position where iter is pointing. Okay, now we have inserted. Now final thing which we have to do is inserting zeros vector at the end of our backbone. So this is syntax of inserting. So we are inserting nums dot insert. What we are inserting, where we are inserting at the end of the nums. So nums dot end. And what we are inserting, we are inserting zeros vector starting from zeros dot beginning to start until zeros dot end. Okay, I hope you are getting everything what I'm saying. This is our final thing which we had to do. Now I guess we need not to return anything from this function. So all we had to do was to modify our num set. So I guess we are done with the programming. Let's see what happened. There's something error back in the zeros vector of typo. What happened to this runtime error? Where is error occurring? Vector in zeros count equal zeros. Vector in iterate height and answer begin. We are starting from I equal 0. I should be less than size. Size is equal to num sub size. We are increasing I every time. We are increasing iter every time. What we were not doing. so much. Just a second, guys. Let me check my solution. Oof, 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 oof. Don't say I have lost my code because it was something. Um, with the question, I had to click another section. It was 263 now, 268. I forgot. Um, Missing number moves it to 283. Where I haven't lost my solution. So what's the problem? Zero should insert. What's the problem? I am not getting the problem actually. Int size equal numpsort size. Okay. I should be count I have declared. I have declared an array, vector int array. Let me first clear the iterator syntax. How is this a problem? How do we are declaring a vector in slash slash iterator is equals to vector dot begin. Vector in slash slash iterator is equals to numpsort begin. Okay. Vector into zeros. This is the way of declaring zeros. While I is less than size, only till we will be running our while loop. If nums of I is equal to 0, then we have to erase item. Nums dot erase and count plus plus. Otherwise, we have to increase it. Yeah, this is what we had to do. I don't know what's the problem they're facing. Let me run it again. But why? Let me do this. Now it is accepted. So guys, I really don't get such type of error which occur because of such things which really don't make any sense. Maybe I am weak at programming. So here we got our answer checked. All the test cases have been passed. Let's submit. Okay. So you can see our question and our solution is accepted. So this way you could solve this problem. I hope you got the solution. If not, you can feel free to ask in comment box any doubt you're facing. Thank you for your patience.